8.0 is coming and there's a lot that I need to get done. From finishing the MSQ, to leveling all my classes, to unlocking every piece of content this game has to offer. There's a lot to do before Evercold drops in January, and I don't know if I have the time to get it all done. So without further ado, come along and let's get right into the grind. Alrighty guys, welcome back. You might notice I'm not playing one of my typical classes, and that's actually for a reason. I have decided to play through Dawntrail on the Summoner class. I have never really played a caster that extensively, so I'm excited to give it a try, and it was already level 90 because I play Scholar, so I figured, why not? Now, one of the things about picking up a new class is that I have to go through and do all these job quests. Now, I know I started doing the ninja on video a couple weeks ago, but I kind of think I'd rather just experience these on my own for the time being, and we can pick back up later. I might not do this for all the classes, I might actually go through some of them, but I think generally I'd rather experience this on my own, in my own time. So we're going to pick up in a little bit with some chores for this week, because this week is going to be mainly me just cleaning up some random activities that I haven't gotten around to. That said, I'm going to speak to Dancing Wolf here, help Yamitra with whatever she wants to do, and I will see you guys in a second. A bunch of Summoner class quests later, I've realized that I'm going to have to do some other stuff that's a huge pain in the ass. Particularly, talking to Moogle over here, and getting started the Moogle quest chain that unlocks their beast tribe. Now, the only reason this is annoying is because there's 20 plus quests that lead up to it, all of which are an actual story, given they are a beast tribe. So first we gotta talk to Moogle here, who we have to help join the Palm Guard. We then chase him down to whatever he's doing with this mumbling Moogle, who appears to have lost his pebble. We then find Moogle hanging out on a cliff with whatever this thing is, a sea beggar here, threatening him, which we'll just take out really quickly. And heading back to Mogholm, we can finally deliver the pebble, get some Malagan silver pieces for our trouble, and then on to our next quest, which is called Spineless Wadgets, which is all the way over here at Asa. Alright, so after traveling across the Churning Mist, we are met with Moogle once again, who seems to want to help this zooming Moogle now, who seems to have lost his knife. Seems like it might be a recurring thing in these quests where it's Moogle going and finding a Moogle who's lost something, but that's totally okay. Quick little fetch quests, and I'll be back when we're done. After obliterating some Wadgets, we're finally back here with the zooming Moogle, and we can finish this second quest. Alrighty, for our third quest, we have Moogle here at Zenith with the unmoogled Moogle. I don't even really want to know what that means, but I guess we're gonna help him out. Alrighty, for this task, it looks like we just have to save them from a bunch of dragons, or at least follow them as they make their way home. So that's what we're gonna do, and it looks like they've already been attacked just as they left. With that situation quickly resolved, I will see you when we escort them all the way back to Asa. And after a quick fly back and a couple dragons obliterated, we have made it back to Asa. Now after that, it seems like it's becoming clear these quests are going to be pretty easy, pretty simple, and they're just going to be really tedious, so checking back in every time I complete one seems like a waste of time. Because of that, I think that I will just get the rest of this quest chain done, and I will see you when something happens or we unlock the Moogles. Alrighty, real quick interruption, what the hell is a Kupo Nut? This Palm Guard Moogle here was like passed out, like he got knocked out, he flew into a tree or some shit, and he ate a Kupo Nut and now he's fine. I need some of those, please. Let me bring some of those into dungeons where I'm constantly walking into AoEs. I need some Kupo Nuts, man. Alrighty, so the end of this quest actually brings back a discussion as to the things we were talking about a couple weeks ago. It seems like the Moogles are a size-based hierarchy. You gotta see Moglin up here, he's really big. And then the captain of the Mog's Guard here, Moglu, I mean, he's pretty big as well. You got some other Moogles of varying sizes over here, like Mogto is pretty big. I mean, wow, Mogto is actually really big. But generally, they seem to follow a size-based hierarchy. So you can see Mogwin here is probably not worth shit because he's small. Again, that brings to the question, do Moogles keep growing? How do they get this big? I insinuated the last time we talked about Good King Mogomog that potentially there's some genetic component to it, but I'm not sure because it just seems like the more important a Moogle is, the bigger it is. Now again, that could be for a couple of different reasons. It could be, you know, as a result of them being big, or them being big, it could be their qualifications, I guess. Like maybe they keep growing forever, and then the bigger you are, the wiser you are, so you get authority. Or, you know, the fucked up option is that they give the bigger Moogles positions of power. Just how big you are results in you getting a position of importance. So I really want to know, you know, some people shared their thoughts on the last one, but now that I've got a couple more subscribers, I want to ask again, what do you think this Moogle hierarchy is? What is the secret behind the big Moogle? And is it some weird form of genetic superiority? Now, in exploring this area and doing all these quests, it's hard not to notice the attention to detail in some of these earlier zones. There's really, you know, like this thing up here, or even this tree here. There's a bunch of stuff that's never referenced in the story, at least to my memory, but is really cool looking and adds a lot of lore to this place. I wish later expansions did that more, where there was just little bits and pieces that add lore to an area without it having to be story relevant all the time. So it seems like this story is talking about how the Moogles have a pact with Hraesvelgr, which we knew, but also that it means they have to be the ones to upkeep Zenith here, which is, I think, a cool little bit of lore. Basically what's happening is that Nidhogg's horde is overrunning this area, and now the Moogles, specifically the Mogsguard, have to defend it. So that's pretty cool, and it's a neat little piece of things, you know, happening in the background in the wake of Heaven's Word. And for the final level 55 quest, we have to go on top of Zenith and fight this ancient Vouvre, whatever, and save the Palmsguard, who, as you can see, are absolutely defeated around me. That said, you know, you're supposed to do this when you're over 30 levels lower than me, so I think if it'll take care of this pretty handedly. Alrighty, so getting started on the level 56 quest, we are here in Ishgard outside the Fort Tom's Manor, starting into the mist from this unflinching temple knight. Heading over to the congregation, we find Handaloop as well as Mian, who is, I feel like I've seen her somewhere before, I'm just not sure where. And heading back to the Churning Mists, we've met with the scouting party here at the Rookery, and I will see you once we've helped them. Alrighty, so after slaying some dragons, killing some Diresaurs, and picking up a ton of Aetherometers, we are finally most of the way through this questline. Now I'm on the quest Tharby Dragons, and there's only about one more before the final quest, so let's go do that. And after killing one more Diresaur, here we are at laying the first brick, the last of the side quests we need to complete before the Moogle Tribes quest. Finally, we are back in Mogholm speaking to Moglin one last time. Well, that's pretty cool. It seems like the Moogle Tribe quest is learning how to repair Zenith, so we're going to be working towards that as a crafter. And after all of that, we can finally talk to the Seething Stonemason to start the quest Tricks and Stones. And it seems like the Moogles have pissed off all of the Ishgardians willing to help them, so we have to start mending that bridge before they will let us do some crafting for them. And as might be expected, this guy Terrason has roped us into helping the Moogles, which is, you know, the point, but he kind of just volunteered us without even asking, so... Regardless, it seems we have to go help him out really quick before we actually unlock the Beast Tribe. You know, whenever I run through these cities, it always shocks me the names I see. There's some guy I keep seeing in Gridania called Where's My Jewel, and this guy right here is named Doritos Locos Tacos. Looks like he wants us to craft a fake Koopa Nut to manipulate their economy, or something to that effect. I'm not entirely sure, but I also don't entirely care, so I guess we'll craft this Koopa Nut up really quick and just see what it has in store for us. It seems like the Koopa Nuts were actually meant to just trick the Moogles, which is pretty ingenious considering how they don't seem to want to do anything. And after convincing the Moogles that our nuts are big enough, we have finally convinced the Moogles to work with us. And with that, we have unlocked an army of Moogle slaves and or the Beast Tribe quests. Now with that all said and done, it comes to my attention that I actually need to do my Beast Tribe quests more frequently. I'm just stacking up these allowances and not really using them, so I really need to make sure that I am doing that. Start here with the ones we just unlocked with the Moogle Beast Tribe quests. So to do this, we have to first synthesize some training supplies, and I believe these need to be high quality. Then we have to make some repurposed construction components. And finally, some foundation components. With that done, we've actually unlocked yet another Moogle tribe quest, so we're gonna accept the milk of Moogle kindness right now. I'm not gonna lie to you guys, I really don't want to find out what the milk of Moogle kindness is, but I guess we're gonna be helping out the Moogles once again. Alrighty, now we were back at Asa with Master Mogzin to make sure he doesn't start lying to people again. And after giving some Moogles some Kupo nut milk, holy shit, they're getting wasted. Oh my god. Yeah, did we just roofie some Moogles? What the fuck? That is not where I thought this was going. I'm the witness to a crime right now. What the hell? Look at them. Oh no, what is he doing? He's subliminally implanting messages inside of their brains while they sleep after he roofied them. What is this quest? What ho, friends, isn't it a perfect day for backbreaking labor? Who needs rest? Not I, Kupo. You know, I was joking about the Moogle slaves before, but apparently it's just real. Well, there they go. Our newly indoctrinated Moogle slaves. Alright, so after they passed out, once they were working, all I had to do was sprinkle them with a healthy dose of white powder to get them back up and running again. And after some morally questionable tactics, we have reached a recognized reputation with the Mogmenders. Now, despite the interesting plotline of the Moogles, I think I'm all Moogled out for the time being, so I'm gonna go find something else to do, and I will see you when I find it. Alrighty, so in the background of all of this, I've been slowly but surely leveling Machinist with the leveling roulette. Machinist is a job I think is kind of fun, and it's going to be pretty instrumental when I get to Palace of the Dead in a couple of videos. Because of that, I want to get some experience playing the job, and it's also going to be one of the next jobs that I start to level, so we're just going to get a head start. With that all said, it says average wait time 9 minutes, so I think I'll just see you guys when that pops. After only about 45 minutes, we have gotten a queue finally. Let's see what this is. Level 16, I believe that's just Copperbell Mines. Oh, 1,000 Maws of Toto Rock, I was wrong. Well, thankfully this is a dungeon that requires just about 0 thought, so that'll be fun. And we've got people who actually know how to play the game, so this should go by pretty quickly. Oh, it looks like we're stopping here. You know, I've always loved the idea of having just a gun in this game. Like, you got Paladins with a sword and shield, you got Viper with the double sword, you got Astrologian with their cards, and then you just have a dude with a gun. Like, that's pretty sick. I really like that. It's a funny sort of subversion of expectations that I feel like you don't get too much. Now, of course, this game has it in spades with the whole Garlemald thing, but I just think it's fun to have something like that I can actually use. You know, it's one thing for the enemy to have massive tanks, it's another for me to just have a fucking pistol and to just own the Coral of the 9 Tails. As usual, he went down pretty easy. Gotta make sure I'm not pulling in front of my Paladin. But the rest of this dungeon, I mean, I really think this might be the easiest dungeon in the game. Like, Coppermill Mines is easy, but for a Sprout, some of the pulls can get overwhelming. Here there's not much at all. Really just a bunch of easy pulls that you can just kind of run through, no matter how good or bad your healer is. There's actually almost no difference in this dungeon between a good and a bad healer. All that matters is that you just fucking heal, like, at all. And as long as you're doing that, you'll be totally fine. Now, am I losing out on a ton of XP by only doing leveling roulette each day? Yes, but am I also saving a lot of time? Also yes. So, you know, right now leveling is important to me, but realistically it's not that big of a deal. I mostly want to work on the MSQ. So, you know, as of right now, I've just been doing only leveling roulette so I can get my machinist up to a higher level. Eventually I will have to, like, fully grind a lot of the levels for some of these classes, but for right now it's not that big of a deal. So I'm just going to continue just doing the leveling roulette because it's far easier and less time consuming than any of the others. After about 4 seconds, that second cohorl O the 9 tails is down, and all we have left is that big scorpion dude at the end of this. Man, tell me why Caligor Adarkin, Seeker of Skill, kind of goes hard as fuck. So does Ruby Roja the Redeemed. That's awesome. Honestly, if you want to know the history behind my username or my character's name, a couple years ago my friend had a Minecraft server and we were gonna, it was a sort of roleplay server, like a lore world building type thing. And I was gonna play a character named Mira, but unfortunately that just kind of never ended up panning out, and so I reused the name here. The last name Odolin just kind of comes from both a play on my real name as well as the word Odyssey. Myriad Adventures, Miria Odolin. Might be a little corny, but I don't know, I thought it was fitting. This game is pretty corny itself, so figured why not. Since moving back to America, Miria and I have had plenty of adventures, and here is our latest adventure, fighting off Graphias, the level 24 scorpion dude, whose abilities I will entirely ignore. Honestly, in the history of me playing this game, I don't think I ever remember actually paying attention to this guy's abilities. Like, even my first time through, I think I just kind of stood here and dealt with it instead of actually moving out of the way. And with that, that is the 1000 Maws of Total Rock complete. We're going to call him the Healer for having a cool name. And that's an additional 18,000 XP just for completing that dungeon. Alrighty y'all, so we're going to actually start the Stormblood content now. Oh boy, we have a lot to do, both in Rauger's Reach and some of the neighboring areas, as well as in Kugane, which has a ton for me to unlock. First up, we're going to talk to this starry-eyed Alamegan, who wants us to go talk to a battle-scarred veteran outside. I believe this is the Stone, Sea, and Sky quest? And that is exactly what it was. Pretty simple, just one person to talk to. Now let's go see what the other quests are. So we're actually going to ignore this Biggs and Wedge quest because this is the Omega Raid series, which I will get to eventually. Instead, we're going to go over here and talk to Ortwin, who wants us to go find Marjorie so we can explore the Temple of the Fist. Now, I actually don't think I've ever done this quest before, so I'm not sure what this is. I think it's a dungeon. It sounds like a dungeon. So we'll see. Seems like this was the wrong way to go, and here we are, we found it. This looks a lot better. Yeah, a lot of these places that I don't go very much, I just kind of forget. A lot like I was saying with the Voidcast Deus, it's kind of hard to really remember every single thing in this game, especially when you don't go there or don't do it often. And it seems like we now have to enter the Temple of the Fist. I'm not sure how long the queue's gonna take. Yeah, it says 9 minutes, so I guess we'll just continue some of the other quests while we wait. Now, I'm lazy, so I'm just going to teleport back, and we'll go speak to Filiate over here, an unwanted truth. Looks like this is going to be Fractal Continuum hard, so that should be pretty cool. God, with the amount of time I've spent in Heavensward zones, you'd think I'd be more amicable to them, but these zones are the worst. I mean, the amount of distance you have to travel with no Aetherites is so annoying. And in some places, like the Dravanian hinterlands, there isn't even any Aetherites to begin with. I'm very glad they split up the other zones a little bit better. This would have been, a nightmare to travel, especially some of the Endwalker zones without any other Aetherites at all. The moon is still pretty bad, but not quite as bad as Az's Law. Something I kind of hope they do in Evercold is start revisiting these old zones. They said that they were going to update them with some new field content, but I want to have reason to actually come back here and explore. I mean, this massive flagship, I feel like there's so much you could do with this area. We know from Dawntrail that they have the capabilities to just fully change how an area looks when you're at a certain part of the story, so I wonder if they'll do something eventually where we revisit these zones and we can see them in a new light. Anyways, let's go talk to Filiate real quick, and that's the Fractal Continuum hard and now accessible. So thankfully that'll limit my time not doing things a little bit and let me queue for 2 things at once, but Unfortunately, that's not really going to help a ton because I am still 8 DPS. Now, I believe that was all we had to do in Balgur's Reach, so next up we're going to head over to the Fringes. It does appear that there are 2 different quests here, so I'm going to fly over to the level 61 quest and continue from there. Alright, so talking to this cat girl here, I think this is actually an extension of one of the Ether Current quests. I feel like I remember something leading up to this where we were investigating some stuff around this area. Looks like we need to search Bittermill for clues, so I guess I'll just go find those real quick and see you when I'm done. Seems she found some random guy who seems a little bit off to me. I'm always distrustful of Elizin, as all should be. Seems like she's gonna escort him back to the castrum, so hopefully we get to learn more about what's wrong with this dude, because clearly something's off. And that's drawing a blank complete. Seems like there's more to this story, so yeah. Looks like we're gonna have to do seeking answers next. Now, as somebody who hasn't actually done this before, or if I have, I've forgotten, it's interesting to do this quest not knowing what's at the end of it. You know, it's really nice going through just an interesting story and not really having to think a whole ton. Just, you know, paying attention, because it's been a long week, guys. I don't know how many of you have ever had a 100-hour work week, but it's just kind of a nightmare. And the worst part is that it was self-imposed. It wasn't even my boss or anything. I just had a lot of things I wanted to get done this week, and I really burnt myself out. And so taking the chance to record the video and just, you know, chilling, reading some stories is much, much better in terms of just allowing me to relax a little bit after that hell of a work week. I think I spent 80 of those 100 hours hunched over a computer writing. I wrote 50 or so pages last week. It's just a lot, and I know it's a PhD, so of course it's going to be difficult, but regardless, it still kind of sucks working that much in one week, and it really takes it out of you. You know, I was eating fried chicken all week just because I didn't even have time to cook for myself. Anyways, we're back here with Serpent Marshal Brookstone, and it seems like this might be the last quest in this quest chain. Now, why is Tala always in these weird locations behind buildings? Oh, this is the Black Rose storyline. I have done this. I guess it was just so long ago that I forgot about it. You know, I am really glad they are improving the in-zone content. I think the fates are a cool idea, but they really need to be expanded on. I did like how in A Realm Reborn they had some of these more complex fates, like that one in Upper Lunasha or Outer Lunasha? Upper, I think, where it was like a moving caravan, and if you didn't get it in time, it would disappear. Or in Gridania, where there's like multiple step quest chains that explore a lot of the world. I hope they do something more like that, or give us something to grind towards in these zones, just to make it feel worth it to come back to a lot of these places, because after the story, we really don't see a whole ton of a lot of these locations. Alright, so after searching through Bittermill, it seems like we found a sample of Black Rose, so we'll be heading back to Castrum Oriens to report it and deliver it safely. And with that, it seems like that quest chain is over for the time being, so you know, I find it hard to believe that that's the actual end of that storyline, so maybe it unlocks with something else. And just in time, we have actually queued into the Fractal Continuum hard, so let's get going on that. Man, from a cinematic standpoint, the Allagan ruins are always so cool. They're always so futuristic, and with this glowing, like, cinematic light, they're always really cool looking. So another point to note is that this is actually my first dungeon ever using Summoner, so I'll have to make sure that I'm paying extra close attention to my rotation, something that I'm bound to screw up quite a bit. I love how we can actually see the kind of weird shit the Allagans experimented with. All the creatures in all these dungeons are always so weird looking, and it's pretty obvious that they were doing a lot of the experimentation on them. I believe in the normal Fractal Continuum, you can actually see that they experimented on whatever was before the Ixals, and like the Ixals are kind of a fake race that were generated by the Allagans. So I think that's really, really cool. Well, that didn't seem to go my way, my bad. Looks like it didn't go the healer's way either, so thankfully the Dragoon did have a Phoenix down, so in a second here, looks like I'll be getting rezzed by our healer. Always gotta remember when you come back from something like this to resummon your Carbuncle. And that's the first boss down, not without significant issue. You know, like I said in last week's video, I'm going to try to be good at these classes, but a lot of them I've never played before and will likely not play much ever again. So, you know, don't expect too much out of me. Well, would you look at that? It's not actually the easy version of this dungeon that the Ixal stuff is in. It's in this one. That's pretty cool. Yeah, stuff like that I've always really enjoyed. I think it's super cool detail, and it's some super nice lore to just sort of add into these dungeons here. If you think about it, it really recontextualizes the Ixal questline, because they're, you know, all just trying to get home, right? And now we know that home is basically As Law. Alrighty, so we find ourselves here at the Ultima Warrior, where the statues are lighting up, and I don't really know what that means, so I'm just gonna follow my team and hope it's the correct thing to do. Looks like meteors to some extent. Oh, the growing AoEs, gotcha. I also really love it when they reuse certain effects or certain moves. Things like the Citadel Buster from the Ultima weapon being reused on the Ultima Warrior, I think is kind of a neat touch, just to really emphasize that they're really from the same group of people and developed in a similar way. And with that, that's the Ultima Warrior down, and a ton more accessories for me to greed. Now you might be wondering why I would continue to gather all of this kind of useless gear, and I guess the main reason is just because it can potentially provide money. Money's the motivator for a lot of things in this game, and this is no different, where the potential to get money from Grand Company Seal purchase items is pretty big. So I'm gonna make sure I'm taking advantage of that whenever I can by claiming all of the loot in dungeons. I think at some point I am going to have to rework my summoner hotbar. I'm not a huge fan of how it looks right now. I just don't really know what else to do with it. So I guess I'll figure that out as I go. You know, again, this is my first ever dungeon on summoner. So potentially it's just that I'm not used to it and that I don't play DPS a whole ton, but I guess we'll see. I've been thinking about editing my UI so some of the important skills show up in like a bigger bar. I think that might help a lot with just sort of getting my bearings and understanding at what point of the rotation I'm at. Now from those messages, it does look like my party started without me, so I'll just move to the sealed area and we will get going. As with learning every new class, I'm, spending a little more time than I probably should looking at my hotbar. But hopefully I can manage in a Stormblood dungeon fairly alright. Let's just use some of these heal abilities as well to keep myself alive that little bit more. And with one last hit, that guy is dead, whatever his name was. I wasn't paying attention. And that is the end of a Fractal Continuum Hard. Alright, so we're once again just going to queue up for the Temple of the Fist, and I'm going to head towards our next destination over here. Now, before I do anything else, I have realigned my hotbar and added some more buttons up here just to make sure I can more easily see what I need to be pressing. So hopefully that helps out a little bit in my gameplay whenever we do get into this next dungeon. For now, we're going to talk to Miraz Nun here for the quest A New Contender. The Makote lore has always been something that's fascinated me. I think it's kind of funny how there's only one of them who's able to breed and is like the alpha, and all of the rest of them are kind of just cucks. The Nun and Tia names are distinguishers of this, and something kind of funny is that means Graha Tia is canonically not the alpha of his tribe, and he's also a cuck. I love how in this scene he's so pathetic that we don't even get the chance to actually fight him, because we just beat him so bad that it does not matter. Looks like he's too scared to fight us, so we're back to a Realm Reborn in questing, where we have to go find a gazelle all the way over here in this region. Looks like I ended up taking the long way, my bad. Ah yes, my favorite thing to do in this game, surveying. Now that is certainly a gazelle, holy. And after our stunning defeat of the Gazelle, he thinks he's ready, so he's off to fight the Nun. This is certainly going to turn out very poorly for him. And yeah, he ended up dead on the ground yet again. Looks like he's got a serious case of daddy issues, which we're going to have to solve. Now this talk of the Ananta makes me think that this actually unlocks the Ananta tribe quests. Guess we'll head over to where they're hanging out and see if that's the case. First things first though, we gotta talk to Mazet Tia, who wants to learn how to defend himself, something that I'm sure will go swimmingly for him. Seems like he wants us to throw grenades at him, which I'll do, but I don't know if that's the best way to train his defense. Seems like he actually tried to empty these grenades out, so he's just trying to make himself feel better instead of actually getting better, which is not gonna work. You know, I kind of love that at this point in the story, we absolutely know that he is not ready to fight the Nun, but we're just kind of like, yeah, sure, dude, go for it. And after a little bit of daddy issues solving, it looks like everything is good in the M tribe. And with that, I think that's enough for tonight. It's nearly 1 a.m., so I will see you guys in the morning when I continue this quest. Alrighty, so it's the next morning and we are back here at the Peering Stones, ready to finish this quest up. The rose blooms twice with whatever her name was, so this is actually the culmination of both quest lines. It does seem like this will lead into the Ananta, as we have to now go speak with Koyana at East End. It seems like this whole kind of storyline with the Black Rose and with the Nun and the Tia are coming together and culminating in whatever's happening in the fringes during this time, which, funnily enough, by extension, is Gaius' story through the Black Rose. Now that is something I really like that they do with their side quests, is they like to make the realm feel alive. While I probably should have done a lot of this while I was playing the MSQ, it's nice to go back and just see what was happening with some of these other characters, some of these other plot lines, alongside the main story. So it looks like here that we're going to have to fight off some Ananta. Something I also like is that as we do more things in the story, we get called different things. Started with being called Adventurer, then Warrior of Light, and then here we're the Griffin's Bane, and I think that's really neat, and it just adds like a bit of our reputation into the world. The Percipient one. The hell is this? Now that looks like the quest objective. You can always tell what the quest objective is because it'll be in the most grandiose place possible, which for this quest seemed to be the roots of a giant tree. Seems like the Black Rose seeped into the soil and contaminated some of the plants in this area. Because of that, some of the fruit caused some beasts to go insane, and the Kayana have been using that to their advantage. I love seeing this little cat boy have some character growth. It's really nice that our story is paying off. I always feel like it's just so satisfying when you see the character that you've helped become a new person, then be that new person. I know that's kind of what you expect, but, you know, you'd be surprised at how often it doesn't happen. And after talking to Miraz Nun one more time, that is a Rose Blooms Twice completed. Onto what I believe by the level sync marker is the beginning of the Ananta tribe quest. So we do indeed have to go talk to the Ananta, who Sorisha here wants us to talk to her daughter Alpa, who is part of the Resistance. You know, I really like how you really get the feel that the Resistance is cobbled together. I know a lot of people didn't like Stormblood, but I think a lot of the environmental stuff, you know, makes up for some of the poorer quality story writing in just communicating a variety of situations just through the makeup of different groups, how people are talking and acting, and some of the side quests around the zones. Looks like we first had daddy issues and now we have mommy issues. A lot of parental problems in this game. Finally, we just gotta meet Alpa here at Castrum Veladanya, fix some mommy issues, and finally unlock the Veladanya gatekeepers. And with the Ananta tribe unlocked, there is only one more thing left to do. Actually, it's more like two because I forgot to talk to Philia here. Oh hey, they actually referenced the Ectal 9. That's pretty cool. Man, has it been a minute since I've been back here. Oh shit, we're seeing the Ixal crash out from learning they were man-made. Well, after that little detour, now we only have one last thing to do, which is to take on the Temple of the Fist, something that I got bored of waiting for, so I'm actually doing this on Scholar. Now, this episode is already getting fairly long, so, you know, this might be a pretty brief recap of this run. But regardless, I wanted to make sure that we didn't start something in this video that we never completed, so we're gonna do this today. Alrighty, here we are at the first boss, Coral Shruti. Man, it's so weird seeing some of these older abilities still around here. Things like Broil 2 or even Bio 1, or sorry, Bio 2. It's so strange to see. Jesus Christ, our damage is good. Wow, in just one chain strat, we got this guy almost dead already? Oh, well, it actually looks like there's a second ad that's going to be part of this fight, so... Ooh, those are some neat boots. Kind of got the toes out there. Now, what happened to our tank? Where did he go? We're all just kind of waiting for him. Oh, there he is. I'm here, Axiom. I'm to get shielded up. Why is this dude all the way over here? Maybe he wanted the treasure coffer. I know I do. Always got agreed. This is a weird dungeon run. This guy Axiom simultaneously knows exactly what he's doing and not at all what he's doing, so I'm not really sure. At level 70, having to heal a warrior this much is kind of concerning, but it's fine. Part of that's just me being lazy and not wanting to press my buttons, but also he's not using raw intuition nearly enough. Alright, here we are at the second boss. Looks like we're using a 4-sword model. This thing is pretty cool, honestly. Like a statue thing that's got 4 blades. Pretty sure that last attack name literally just meant forward and back. What is this, an Alexander raid? Oh, I gotta be over here. No! Oh lord, looks like I got 3 Vuln stacks. Is this... Nope, it was resolve opposites. Apparently the last thing you should ever do is listen to Zell Almas. Alrighty, well, that could have gone smoother, but nobody died, so I call that a win. Yeah, like, why is this guy not using raw intuition? I don't understand. Maybe he's been spoiled by healers that like to heal. Maybe he doesn't realize what kind of game this is or who his healer is. I'm not healing you, buddy. I don't want to. If you get a free heal every 25 seconds, I promise you, you don't need me. See, there you go. There, he used it. I think he's only using it when he realizes that I don't want to heal him. Which is like, yeah, fair, I should be healing him, but also, I mean, come on. I believe at this level, Art of War is a gain on 2. I think with Scholar, actually, Art of War is just generally better because you get more autos in. I'm not sure if that's still the case after some of the potency changes, but... Now, what happened to Axiom this time? Here we are at the final boss of this dungeon, who is just a big burly dude. Now I'm always down for big burly men, so let's get this fight started. Well, with that, we have defeated Ivan Coral-Fist, and the Temple of the Fist is complete. Now, I just noticed in this cutscene, where did my shoes go? What the heck? What happened to my shoes? Alrighty, well, regardless of what happened to my shoes, this week we got through all of the Summoner job quests. We unlocked the Moogle and the Ananta Beast Tribes. We unlocked and completed both the Fractal Continuum Hard and the Temple of the Fist. And we did one dungeon on Machinist, leveling that up, just getting a little bit closer to being able to use it as one of my main jobs. This video is quite a bit longer than my usual content, but I hope you like this long form kind of videos. I really like that. I personally really enjoy long form content, so let me know what you guys think down in the comments below. If you enjoyed this video, please drop a like and a subscribe, and I will see you next Sunday for another episode of Road to 8.0.